Welcome to Guided Spirit Conversations. I'm your host, Marla Goldberg. This podcast has been created with you in mind to acquaint you with some of the most incredible metaphysicians and spiritual leaders from around the globe who have helped others change their lives. In this interactive hour, you will be offered insights and techniques to help you make a difference in your life. Don't forget to subscribe to the show in your favorite listening platform. And here we go, on to the show. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Dr. Marla Goldberg, and this is Guided Spirit Conversations podcast. So this guest of ours today, we've been trying to get on. This is the third time, and third time's a charm. First, I broke my arm. Then Lisa got sick, and here we are. Yay. Please welcome Lisa Silverman. Lisa is an intuitive psychic medium, oracle card expert, and pet intuitive. She has worked with clients from around the world for over 8 years, communicating with over 1,000 souls and connecting clients to their loved ones and pets who have crossed over. She is the host of Spirits Are Talking podcast, which airs weekly on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Pacific time. She is also an established interior designer with over 20 years experience creating beautiful, modern, and harmonious spaces using her intuitive and Feng Shui principles. As a medium, she is someone who can communicate with souls on the other side. Contrary to popular belief, mediums do not speak with the dead because there is no such thing as dead. There's only transition from the physical to the spiritual being, and mediums are sensitive and intuitive. She is all the clairs, which includes the ability to hear, feel, see, smell, and taste information from the other side. Ultimately, Lisa's life purpose is to communicate meaningful, heartfelt, and healing messages between physical and spiritual beings. Welcome, Lisa. Finally, yay!
Hey, finally. Wow. Thank you so much. What a nice intro.
Well, I'm so grateful to finally get you here. I know that
Yeah.
my friend Brandon had spoken so highly of you. And so coming, bringing all that you have to bring into the show is just really exciting. So let's talk about the beginning. When did you realize you had these amazing abilities that probably surprised you? And how did you get going on this path?
Excuse me. Well, what happened was I remember as far back as when I was 8 years old and I lost my great grandmother who I adored. It was my mom's grandmother. And on the same weekend that my great grandmother passed away, my dad's father also passed away. So it was a very impactful time in our family's life to lose a grandfather on one side and a great grandmother on the other. And so with my grandfather's service, it was the whole funeral and everything. He who was my great grandmother who I adored, there wasn't really a service that we were allowed to go to as children. I just recently found that out. So I missed her. I didn't have any closure, and I absolutely adored her. So what happened is about a few weeks after she passed, I would feel this a swoosh of an S for Sophie in my soul, and it was between my chest and my back, and I knew it was her, and I was like, wow, and it happened a lot. I've always been sensitive to animals. My dad would call me Dr. Doodle because I could talk to the animals, birds and ducks. I grew up on the water, so I would save animals and things. But so what happened is as the years went by, I always felt that swoosh, and then other family members started coming to me, and so I thought it was kind of normal. And then fast forward, I had a baby and wanted to name her Sophie, but we ended up naming her after four women that we loved, Selena, Rose. And when I had her, the swoosh left. One day, my mom was over. My mom passed, unfortunately, when my baby was only 15 months old. And so she was over one day, And Selena was 6 weeks old, and we went. She's like, "Let's look at the baby. Let's look at the baby." And so we go look at the baby, and we're both like, "Oh, who does that look like? It looks like Mama Sophie." And it is. My daughter's reincarnated as my great grandmother, 1,000%. So that's kind of how it started. I also was able to see friends that had passed. So I was only able to see my loved ones. And then Selena was born, and I never felt that swoosh again. Um, Fast forward, um, I mean, I don't know if you want me to just say how the
Yeah,
evidence of
please do. Yeah, you
how,
feel this is your platform.
thank you, how the evidence of me knowing that Selena was my mama Sophie was just so profound. She was a really old soul, an absolutely beautiful baby that would stop people, you know. And one day, she talked very young, and she was only about 2, and she had her baby stroller and her little diaper little bag, and she was pushing the stroller around the kitchen. And she just stopped and looked at me, and she said, "Mama, when you were a little girl, I used to push you just like this." And I said, "Really?" And she said, "Yes." And we'd go, my family's from San Francisco, and we'd go up the hills. And all that was true. "Mama, when you were a little girl, you didn't eat tomatoes. Mama, when you were a little girl, you didn't eat." So she had all this recall. Never felt that swoosh from my mama Sophie again because she's back in my life.
That is such a great story, and how heartwarming to know that this beautiful soul that cared for you and is able to, once again, not only you get to return the favor in caring for her, but then she's able to tell you about who you were as a baby, which many of us don't remember.
Right.
How, what a gift is that?
It's such a gift. And what's so interesting is because we travel in soul packs, you know, and my
Hmm.
mama Sophie died at 8. There was such a connection that we, you know, so she decided to come back as my beautiful baby. And I feel so grateful that my mother witnessed it and knew it as well. And my other family members know it too. But so that was the first start, was when I was really 8 years old, and
Wow.
probably young, but that's my first memory of knowing that my great grandma was in my soul and loving me from the other
And
side for 28, 24 years. And then I had my baby.
and then wait, there's another story similar that has to do with your father, no?
Oh, my father. My father was my father was my favorite person. I'll probably cry. Um, my father was my favorite person. He absolutely loved me just because I was born. I know how grateful I am to have that unconditional love. That's what we, as you know, a parent, a child, an animal, that's where we get unconditional love. We don't get unconditional love in relationships, right? We get it
Yeah.
from our, hopefully, our family, our parents. So, yeah, my dad, I don't even know where to start with that, but my dad, I had a dog growing up named Silver, and I would dress him, and my dad would come home from work and say, "Oh, for God's sakes, get that crap off the dog," you know. And my dad was so funny and so warm and so loved by everyone. So I would take the clothes off the dog, and I would nudgie the dog, and my dad would say, "I'd never want to be your dog," you know, and tease me about it. And so many years later, when I had, like, we got a dog, a Bichon, and my dad was really known for his bear hugs and moaning, "Oh," and all my friends loved my dad because they didn't have great fathers. I was the only one that had an amazing
Mhm.
father in all my friend groups. My dad was Mr. Mom, went on the field trips, everything. He just absolutely loved being part of my life, which is such a blessing. So anyway, we get this dog, and the dog is so adorable. And, but at about 3 months old, when I hugged him, he moaned, "Ugh," just like my father. And I was like, wait a minute. And I was a big and tall man, and shopped. He was this very, very smart dresser, and he shopped at the big and tall man store. And Bentley or Buster was becoming a big Bichon. And he was very handsome, like my dad, had the same swag. Well, all these idiosyncrasies, and I know it sounds crazy to so many people, but the truth is souls do divide. And my dad literally came back as the dog. And things that were important to my dad, which was handshakes and looking in your eye when you shake hands and winking. My dad had swag and this wink and this warmth, exuded all these traits of my dad. And
Your dad sounded very charming.
thank you. My dad was very charming, and I'm so grateful. He taught me my life skills. My mom taught me my spiritual sense of self, and my dad taught me my life skills, how to drink properly, how to gamble properly, how to tip properly. You know what I mean?
All those
And how to
important
shake
things, drinking, eating.
all the right, and all the street smarts, the
Nice.
savviness, you know? So anyway, as Buster got a little older, more and more like my dad. And I know it's crazy, but it's the truth. And so the dog would sit, and handshakes were really important, and he'd wink one eye, just like my father would. My dad would shake your hand, he'd wink one eye. Nice to meet you. Same with the dog, the way the dog sat and everything. So some family members recognized the energy in the dog,
Hmm.
that it was definitely Hal. And they had only been gone 3 years. So my dad had been gone about 3 years when I got Buster. So what was interesting, and this is the funniest story, and my uncle passed away, and Buster was about 6 or 7, and we were at my aunt's house, and my cousin said, "I'm going to pour a drink. Would you like one?" And I said, "I don't know. It's like midnight. I don't know." "Well, I'm going to pour a Crown Royal on the rocks." And that was like a genetic drink in our family. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. And I'm watching her, ceremonially swishing the ice. And I said, okay, I'll have one. And I flashed back to 8 years old, trying my grandpa's watered down Crown Royal that was all watered down with the slivers of ice, right? And I'm flashed
Yes.
back to, this is granddad's drink of choice when he had a drink. So after that, I came home, and about a month later, I thought, I'm going to look in my bar. And we used to have a lot of parties. I did a lot of holidays and everything, and we poured a lot of brown things in my home. So it wasn't like I never poured anything brown. Well, I look in the very back of my bar, and there is an old bottle of Crown Royal, and Buster is sitting on the couch about 20 feet away. And I pull the bottle out, and I open it, and the dog flies off the couch, starts begging and crying and screaming at Crown Royal. And he never ever did that before for anything. And I was like, okay, this is really weird. And he's crying and begging and whining. And so I poured it a little on the rocks, and he had to have it. So I
That's
gave it to,
crazy. Now, you do animal communication. Did you communicate with Buster saying, "Are you my dad?" I mean, I know he gave all the signs,
yeah.
but were you able to
Well,
talk to Buster to find out more?
I was, but I wasn't out of the spiritual closet yet then. I didn't have my huge awakening then, but I've always been an animal communicator to me. What dog flies off the couch? My dog would have walked 200 miles for that drink. I mean, it was insane. So I thought, this is crazy. He never begged for anything like that ever. And then I gave it to him, and he lapped it up, and then he did the, you know, that taste it. Ah. So it happened every time we opened a bottle of Crown and had someone over, he would beg them for the drink. So then fast forward for more evidence that the dog was my dad, was my dad had no bite but a growl. And
Mhm.
so fast forward, Buster's about 12. My daughter came home from college to have a little kickback party. And my dad was very social, wanted to be with the kids, always wanted to be in the know. Same with the dog. So she's outside with these new friends that I'd never met before from college, first college break. And Buster's sitting with the kids and he won't get out of the chair. So my daughter's like, Buster, get down. And he won't because he wants to be social with the kids. And so I have to go outside and say, Buster, get your butt out of the chair right now, please. And so I take him out and he growls, like, screw you, I want to stay with the kids. So one of her new friends who knows nothing says, I'm sorry, but you keep calling this dog Buster, but his name should be Harold. And that was my father's name.
Oh my God. So
Yeah,
she didn't know she had the ability either.
she didn't know, but she knew in a way. I mean, Harold, that is not a common name.
No.
And she was like, you keep calling this dog Buster, but his name should be Harold. My daughter and I's our hair went up, and we're like, how would you even
I'm
know?
sure you had goosebumps all over you.
All over. And it's just validation.
Yes.
My cousins knew that it was my dad and the unconditional love. So that was the big aha, that souls divide and they can be around you. And they also can be in your dog, or they also could be in your friend or my daughter, for example. And that was pretty mind blowing.
That's a it really is a great story, because how many of us have always wondered, well, is this person or this dog, animal in our life somebody that's from the other side? Are they there to whatever it might be? Stacy said she had a female black lab named Buster about 10 years ago. She was sharing that with
Oh,
us.
hi, everybody.
And I think,
What was interesting about Buster is we got him and he was only like 9 weeks old. I put him in a crate. This was so trippy. I put him in a crate the first night. We didn't have a name for him. And I went to bed, went downstairs early in the morning before my family woke up, opened the family room door, and he's sitting right in the center of the couch. And he couldn't even get up there. And it was as if my parents put him on the center of the couch and he was just sitting there waiting for me. It was the most insane visual. And it was literally the couch. And I know my parents were on either side. And so we didn't have a name. So my son came up with, we thought Houdini. Like, how could he have gotten out of the crate? Like,
yes,
and he couldn't even jump on the couch for 2.5 more months. So he was literally placed there by my parents, I know,
I
and
just
we
hope they
named him.
took him out first. Sorry.
Yeah, he was good as gold, no accidents or anything. He was just sitting on the couch waiting.
That's amazing. That is an
So
amazing
that,
story.
that's how we named him Buster, because he busted out of the crate.
That is hysterical. That really is a great story. But you were outed. You said you weren't out of your spiritual closet. You were outed publicly. Who
I,
did it and how did that happen?
I was outed. And I'm so grateful. Oh my gosh, because I've always been, let me just rewind a second. I was raised with a very progressive, I'm Jewish by traditions, and I, had a rabbi for 50 something years and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I was raised with a very metaphysical, and I believe that mediumship and psychic abilities predominantly run on the mother's side lineage. So my mom was very spiritual, her mom, my mom was Sophie, and so on. So I was exposed to a lot of cool things back in the 70s, which was like, what? Right? So having said that, fast forward, I knew I had these gifts and abilities. I was meditating. My first book, my mentor was Louise Hay. Obviously,
Wow.
my mom gave me the book, You Can Heal Your Life. It was like, here, now that I screwed you up, here, heal your life. So anyway, how I really got outed. Well, after my mom passed away, I could hear her. I have some million stories about what happened after that. But again, I'm going to circle back to that I've always been able to see, feel, and hear my loved ones, not channel for you or other people until this one particular day. So I went to the mall, which I never go to the mall to have my iPhone fixed. It broke. I always go to a store, an Apple store. For some strange reason, there are no coincidences, I was divinely guided to go to the mall. And I'm thinking, why am I going to the mall for the Apple store when I have, Gary who knows my phone at the other place? I walk into the mall. It's 11 o'clock in the middle of the week, and it's very, very quiet. And I go in the side door of the mall, and I hear, hey. And I'm looking around, and no one's there. And then I hear, hey, you. And I'm like, okay, this is really funny because no one's there. I recognize. And he said, I'm talking to you. And I'm like, okay, this is Canon camera. Where are the cameras? This is really funny. And he stopped me dead in my tracks. And I look up and he says, Lisa, I'm talking to you. And I'm like,
Oh, wow.
okay. I said, okay. He goes, I know you're going to the Apple store. I need you to talk to my daughter. I'm like, what? I don't know this voice. I don't know this energy. I'm familiar with my guides. I'm familiar with channeling my loved ones. So I know something's going on. So he said, anytime, and he said, Lisa, you're a medium. Anytime, any place, anywhere, you got this. And I'm like, what? So he says, this is what's going to happen. You're going to go into the Apple store. You're going to go to the Genius Bar. My daughter's going to come and help you. When she mentions lost, you're going to jump in. I'm standing in the middle of the mall like, are you kidding me right now? And so he said, just trust. So I asked my guides to protect me, and I was going to just lean into it. What am I going to do? So he gave me these directions. He had told me he passed 3 years prior. He had told me that his mom died right before he did, 2 weeks before. He had told me his name was Joe. So I said, okay. And Marla, you've been in the Apple store. I'm sure how the energy is in the Apple store
Yes.
if you're sensitive.
Yes.
So I follow his prompts and I walk to the Genius Bar, and I'm not in a good mood. My phone's broken. This darling girl comes over and says, hi, how can I help you? And I explain what happened. And he goes, that's her, that's her. So I'm hearing his voice. That's her, that's her. I'm like, of course it's her. You're not going to send me the wrong girl. After all this, you're not going to send me the wrong girl. So he says, when she mentions loss, that's when you jump in. Okay. So we're talking. She's like, no problem. I'll fix your phone. She was so adorable. So then we went to a private table, and she mentions loss. And he goes, no. And I said, okay. I'm like, okay. So I said, I know this is kind of crazy. But before I said that, he said, Lisa, you got this. You're a medium anytime, any place, anywhere. And so I said, I'm a medium. And I started to cry because I owned it. He made me own it. I said, I'm a medium. Father here, would you like to speak to him? And she said, yes. And so I said, your father's telling me that he passed 3 years ago. Would that make sense? She said, yes. He also told me that your grandmother had died 2 weeks prior to him. Would that make any sense to you at all? And she said, yeah. I said, he's telling me his name's Joe. His father was Joseph, and he has a son, Joey the third. Is that right? And she said, yes. And then it just went on from there. Then he told me, ask her about the pennies, ask her about the pennies. And so I said, he's telling me that you find pennies everywhere. Would that make any sense to you at all? Like on your car seat, in your slipper, floor? She said, yeah. I said, that's his way of communicating with you that he's there. And then he starts singing pennies, pennies from heaven. And so I'm singing and she starts crying more because he always sang that to her as a little girl.
Was her name Penny?
No, her name was
Oh.
Lauren. And then, sorry. And then, I can't believe, classic, right? That something's going off. Truth be told. Anyway, what happened is she ended up, he told me that she was going to have a baby. And she said, I don't think so. I don't think so. She ended up getting pregnant. And she came and saw me for a private session when she was like 8.5 months pregnant. So I owe it all to Joe, who kicked me out of the spiritual closet to allow me to do this for other people. And that's how I got kicked out of the spiritual closet by Joe.
So, and then you started a practice. You started helping people.
Well, it took me a little while to absorb what was going on with me. Meantime, I was married for 20 years to a guy who is a really good guy. He didn't believe in what I knew to be true. And so I ended up, not leaving the marriage because of that, but for other things to honor my soul. We get stuck. And so I had to leave. And then I grew. And so I did 250 readings free to learn what I knew. I've always been studying with Colette Baron Reed. Are you familiar with her?
I am familiar with Colette.
I've worked with her for like 6 years. John Holland, James Van Prague, some other world-renowned mediums, and to make sure that what I was doing was real, which I knew it was real, but just to hone in on my gifts. So I did a lot of free readings that were just downloads. I'd hold jewelry, find out things. And then it took me about a year to start my practice.
That's a short, I have to tell you, if it's only a year to start a practice, that's great. I mean, that is a great amount, because it's, in the scheme of things, it's really fast.
It was
Going on that.
accelerated.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of, I mean, I needed to do too sure that this is what's happening. I wasn't going to just start charging people when I don't know what I'm doing. I wanted to take classes. I've been on cruises with John Holland and Colette that were amazing, to hone in on my gifts. So I'm always in school. I'm always a student and a teacher, right?
Yes.
So I've had the privilege of channeling about 1,100 souls to date. And it's such an honor to do what I do. Of what's my why is to connect people to their loved ones because it's so
It is so healing. And doesn't the healing help people get on their path to loving themselves? Because when you're wounded, when you're hurting, it's hard to change that pathway, to really start accepting things and the reason they're happening to you.
and the grief,
Yes.
I mean, the grief is paralyzing for many people. And a lot of people really believe that when you die, that's it.
Right.
And so we're light workers like you are a light worker to raise the vibration of consciousness to show and to explore that the soul never dies.
Which it doesn't. I agree with you 100%. We just shed the shell that is our human body and move on, and we continue learning on the other side. So whatever you
Exactly.
started learning here, you're going to learn on the other side as well. Continue with.
I agree. And what I noticed when I channel these beautiful souls is that what they were hanging on to here that wasn't always in the loving light or for the highest good. So it's only really a love and unconditional love on the other side,
Yeah.
and forgiveness. I'm like the I'm sorry medium. I get so many apologies and so many things that I'm so sorry. And the evidence that comes through is just so, I don't know another word. Maybe you can give me one besides crazy, um, because it's so mind blowing to me.
Well, it's first of all, it's so enlightening because of the fact that, you know, all you're getting this information that you wouldn't otherwise be able to get, which you wouldn't otherwise be able to share. And it does, you get enlightened because it comes through you, but your clients, they really get enlightened. And I have a couple questions. First of all, what do you do if somebody comes to you and they're totally skeptical and they're closed minded? Do you just, how do you handle it? Do you just continue on and do your best? Or do you say, you've got to at least be open to what I'm going to share with you? It's okay if you're skeptical, but you need to be open because otherwise, they might start playing with you because spirits will do that as well, won't they?
Tricksters will.
Yeah.
I realize that I'm not here to convince anyone about the afterlife, right? So if someone comes to me for only 3 times in all those readings, was I not able to connect to who they wanted to demand to connect with? Okay, one was a parent, a couple, and it was just, I thought, the mother, and then the father jumped in on the Zoom, and his energy was so negative, and the son would not come through. Absolutely, was talking to me and said, "I'm not coming through. I don't feel comfortable. I'm not open to it right now. I'm not up for session." Spirit always comes first, 1,000%. Okay. So I am on the side of spirit before the client because it's so sacred, right? Does that
It
make
is
sense?
sacred. Yes, it does.
So um I've I've had skeptical people. I mean, I've channeled people at a trade show. I'm an interior designer. I was in Vegas at a trade show and one of my showrooms, and I'm looking at all this cool stuff, and then I get this download of a grandma, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to find this granddaughter. And so it's one of the sales vendors. I show them like, oh, this lady's not leaving me alone. I have to find the granddaughter. And then I find her, and I'm like, I know this is so crazy. By any chance, did you lose your grandma when you're about 4? And she said, yeah, why? I said, because I have her here. I'm a medium. And so she was skeptical, but then it blew her socks off with the energy of all the details that I was sharing with her. And then she had private readings with me since too.
Wow.
So I don't talk people into it.
Which we shouldn't, as metaphysicians, we shouldn't have to talk people into anything. I know how I deal with it is I don't care if you're skeptical. I don't care if you're not a believer. But if your mind is closed, save yourself time and money, save my time, because it's not whatever you're trying to prove is not going to happen.
Right.
So
Interesting.
I won't even do it. I won't even do a session if I know someone is closed minded. Again, I welcome skeptics because
Yeah,
the only way for a skeptic to stop being skeptical is to experience something they wouldn't otherwise be able to experience.
I agree. And it's like, bring it on. Let's see. Let's bring it on. You can be closed minded, but you know what? If that love one wants to come through, they're going to come through no matter what.
Yes, there's Rachel is asking, have you two got a dog in the background? I have a dog. She's under my desk.
So's mine.
Mine loves to sit around when I'm in my office and be under the desk, just absorbing
So
all
does
the
mine.
energy.
So does
So
mine. What kind of dog do you have?
she is a teddy bear puppy. Her name is Haniel after the archangel,
I love it.
and she's buff color, so she's very angelic, in the whitish kind of way. And so, then you?
I have a Bichon, a third Bichon, and he's a COVID puppy, and he's 3, and he's under
Oh,
my desk and loves it, and he's a healer beyond. When I do in-person sessions, he's sits right on a
right there.
mat next. Yeah.
And
Hmm.
aren't they all healers to one degree or another? Animals come into our life to heal. It doesn't make a difference if it's a goldfish. I just heard it doesn't make a difference if it's a goldfish or a horse. They come into our lives for not only do they heal us, we also heal them. Like you're a student, as I'm a student. You're also a teacher, as I'm a teacher, as everybody else is.
Hmm.
Oh, she just heard a dog panting. I know
No,
mine isn't panting. That's
mine's
so
pat.
interesting. Yeah.
Excuse me.
Like the dog is too hot. So somebody is picking up some intuitive information. Raquel is,
It's,
I think,
yeah. No,
Rachel
my
or
dog is.
Raquel.
It was so funny because I do like my dad. What was so beautiful about my dad? There were so many beautiful things. Recognize my sensitivities and that I could talk to the animals as a little girl by calling me Doctor Doodle. You know,
Yes.
and when I take the dog to the dog park or whatever, it's so interesting how animals that really want to talk to me and give messages to their owners really are like act kind of out of character to get my attention to speak to their family. I don't want to say owners, but parents, whatever, humans.
Believe me, I understand. I'm not a great animal communicator. I mean, I try to communicate with mine and talk to mine,
Hmm.
but other animals love me. Like today, I have a house full of people and a lot of dogs, and so um, what's interesting is that they both are, they come to me when I come down the stairs. They're just like all excited, and I
Hmm.
know that's our connection. Um, because they have their connection with their moms. But,
Right.
I'm a relative stranger. They've just met me 2 days ago for the first time. So it's that
So
and the treats
funny.
I give them.
Yeah. And the energy, right? You have beautiful energy and they know that. It was
Thank
like
you.
about 6 months ago, of course, walking with my daughter, and we were at the beach, and we're walking down the street, and I don't have Bentley with me, but there's a dog that I can see about 100 yards away who sees me and is starting to get very excited. And his family, his parents, the mom and dad, humans, were sitting at this outdoor table, and the dog sees me from 100 yards and is starting to get very excited. And I say to my daughter, "Oh, this dog wants to talk to me." And he had a service vest on. And so I don't, approach animals unless I ask. But the dog was acting very out of character. And as I'm approaching, getting more and more and more excited. And I said to my daughter, "Oh, this guy really wants to talk to me." So I approached the table, and he's jumping. He's doing everything he should be doing with the service vest on, right? So they're like apologizing. He never does this. I said, "It's okay. This is interesting. I am an animal communicator. Would it be okay if he talks to me? Because he saw me from 100 yards away and has a lot of things to say." And they said, "They were from England." So the dog shared with me how grateful he was that he was a rescue, that he was found in somewhere in the streets of Mexico. And he's so grateful that they found him. And it was like July 5th, actually, last year. And he told me that he hated the firework sounds and that he does not like big vans and trucks, that scares him. And the last night on July 4th, he was hiding in the closet. So he's telling me all this, and I'm sharing it back to them, and their eyes are like, yeah, he does not like the UPS or and he's so grateful and happy that they found him, and they were blown away.
Oh, that's such a great story, such a great message. How do people know that your loved one is with them? What are some signs that people
Oh,
know this?
How many days do you have? Okay, for me, what a lot of times souls come through electricity. So the lights will flicker. I mean, my mom was turned on a lamp that was totally off at Thanksgiving, right? It was
Yes.
an heirloom from her. The light just start flickering. Um, there's the thing. What I know is when we think of them, they're thinking of us
Nice.
right in that moment. Oftentimes they come through butterflies, dragonflies. You can see my dragonflies behind me is a message,
Yeah.
from my girlfriend who passed when I was 39. One of my very best friends. She said, whenever you see a dragonfly, you'll know it's me. And I was like, okay. And then after her service, there was 1,000 of them. And she's come to me so many times with the dragonfly in the most obscure places, right? To my
Yes.
the spirit of the loved one will tell me how they communicate to their loved one. It could be a bird. One session, this husband was such a character. Oh my God, I loved him. I still think of him. His name was Mike. He said, I come as an eagle. I come as an eagle or a hawk. And sure enough, when I had the session, when we're talking, the wife said, there's always a hawk watching me from the tree. And I'm like, that's him. So they come in many ways. But I want people to know that when we think of our loved ones, they're thinking of us right then too.
What happens when you're upset with your loved ones and they're on the other side, but they did something in human form that, or did multiple things that really hurt you, piss you off. You don't understand why they did some of the things that they did, but here you are. You're on the other side. They're on the other side of the veil. How do they work with their beings to, in their own way, apologize other than going to a
Oh,
medium? How does that occur?
medium, I'm not sure about that answer, but what I know in my sessions is I get a lot of apologies. A lot of times, um, they, what's interesting is they will own it and apologize and then give me the background story and say why. Or I'm sorry, please don't carry that with you anymore. I didn't mean to do that. Same with people that have unlived themselves, which unfortunately I've channeled a lot of that, where it was either accidental or deliberate. And there's a lot of, when that happens, a cloud in the room, and I have to address the elephant in the room, and then they'll start talking. So when I identify of how they passed, then they'll start sharing, I'm so sorry. And then I see the details, whether it was a crime scene, a note was left, and then it just unfolds. But the truth is on the other side, they've let go of a lot, all the depression's gone. But the pain that they were living in a body is what brought them to the other side
Mm-hmm.
with and they are very apologetic percent of the time at peace.
Good. I mean, you want everybody to be at peace, and not to carry some of the burdens with them that they did. But that's another conversation. But we do need to take a break. It's charity shout out time. I know you have two charities, but aspca.org is your first charity. And then you've got Feeding America, both very, very important. But let's talk about ASPCA for a second. Why that particular animal charity?
I just think we need to support animals that are up for adoption, money for them,
I agree.
and I'm an animal lover, and that's why.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's
I
fair
mean,
enough.
I don't know what else to say except for support your local, SPCA or ASAP. I mean,
ASPCA.
yeah.
And then Feed America. I mean, that's sort
Uh,
of, look at Americans are like other people in other countries. There's some that have, what do they call it? Food insecurity. And it's a very real thing. So whatever you can do to help, people have their next meal. And especially, in America, we spend so much money helping other countries. Let's refocus and help our people.
Exactly. No one in America should go hungry.
No one anywhere could go hungry. Look, we
No,
all know there's so much abundance everywhere
there is.
that there's no real true excuse as to why there's this hunger, unless it has to do with control power from those beings who, you know, think that it's okay to pick and choose who gets and who doesn't.
I agree. And Ollie, you can think and you can do more things, you know?
So true. So true. So you do a lot of things. You offer a lot of services, Lisa.
I
You
do.
offer, let me see, there's psychic mediumship, private and group sessions, oracle card reading, animal communications, chakra balancing and clearing, house healings, blessings. Do you also do space clearing?
A lot. Yeah. I do space clearings, which is really great. Cool. I do space clearing. So I have some realtor clients. One of my realtor clients had a house that was on, and it was gorgeous, and it wouldn't sell. And I said, because, and the family had already moved out and bought another house, and this house was in like the 2.9 million. So I said, let me come over and clear the space and get the female energy that is still apprehensive stuck there out. I did my thing, did my magic, and sold within 24 hours. And it had been on the market for like 7 weeks. I love that. I love space clearing. Space clearing is so important to, if you've had an argument or you feel funny, it's really important to clear your space, whether you're a healer, medium, not, just a normal
And
person.
and if you're under a lot of stress or you have a lot of negative crap going on with you or stressful experiences, I did a space clearing, I have to say, for this lawyer. And the chair that, I love clearing chairs because so much energy sits in these seats. You don't even think about it, especially in your car. But I'm going to fast track the story. And I got to her bedroom and I got to her closet. And there was so much stuck energy in her closet alone that I sat there, and if I focused my energy, that was the space I put the most time into, because there was just so much layers, so many layers and layers and layers of energy that needed clearing out. And I can imagine that that happens with the people you work with as well, that the energy
Yeah,
gets stuck because of the stress,
the stress, excuse
anger.
me, also other people's crap,
Yes,
okay?
yes.
Right? And on clothes, I can see that. And on the chair, for sure. We absorb a lot of people's energy. I have to wear crystals on my desk. I have, obsidian, you know,
Oh,
uh,
that's beautiful.
thank you so much. I have to have this stuff around me because we absorb. And if we don't know how to
Yes.
release with, like, because I do chakra clearing and chakra balancing, and if we don't know how to release, then that just stays stuck for years and years and years and years.
And it can affect you. So what I do is, like, as an empath, you know, and my vision is that we're out like with a fisherman's net. That's it. That's our energy field. And we go through what a festival or supermarket or whatever, and we just go through all these people and we just pick up their crap like fishermen pick up stuff in the ocean. And my suggestion always for the people like that is visualize your energy field coming in, like to maybe an inch or so away from your physical body. And that way you can't bring in that much stuff if you've pulled in that field, and to try to
I,
remember to do that.
yeah, and I do shielding personally. So if I'm going through a festival, whatever, I imagine and I pull from my feet all the way up a bubble, and it's a sheer bubble on, and it's about 3 feet out. I keep mine 3 feet out because that's my personal space, so I'm not so claustrophobic, if you will,
Yes.
energetically. And so my Teflon is sheer, and whatever wants to try to penetrate me, it just rolls off. It doesn't even come in.
I love that.
There's
Yeah, because go ahead.
no, there's so many techniques to protect ourselves.
There is. I personally do an orb, put in a 360-degree orb, fill it with liquid gold. Nothing can stick with liquid gold. And then
I
I
love that.
surround it with roses
I
because
love
roses are beautiful, but they have thorns to keep people away.
I love that.
So that's when I feel I need to put a protection up. That's what I do personally.
Yeah, I love that. And I'll just sometimes protect a space, like a building, like if I'm going to
Hmm.
be speaking, somewhere, or I'm going to be around a lot of people somewhere that I have to be on, if you will, then I have Archangel Michael create 4 sacred corners and 4 pillars of light around the base and protect it for me and to protect it for everyone else for their highest good, because we can't
Yes,
control, you know, there's spiritual
right.
boundaries, right? So it's not like I'm going to send you white light with conditions. When I do healings for people, I ask their guides, guardians, angels, ancestors, and the archangels to protect them for their highest good without any agenda of mine,
I
to
got
keep it
it.
neutral. Does that make sense? Do you do that
It
too?
yeah, because you want to keep it neutral. So when I do space clearing, I actually clear the parameter of the space that I'm doing. Like I'll go in the street and I will be guided how far out I need to go to do that. And
Hmm.
then yes, I will put my shield around whatever the facility is. Even if it's in a condo, well, I can't go outside and do that. Outside,
Right.
if you're on the 23rd floor, but you can when you leave the building, you know, take it and finish it up that way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
And
it's powerful too.
it is so powerful. It is so powerful. So, Lisa, we are getting close to the end of the show. I want you to speak about something that I haven't asked you about, that you want to share with the audience. What would that be? What would there be a comment, letting people know what to look for, what to feel, how to trust, whatever it might be that is for you? Like what do you want to share?
Well, there's so much to say, but I really want people to know that our loved ones are always with us. Okay. And we need to call on them. Uh, it's really important to get your shot. I do chakra balancing, cleansing, and healing. I think it's so important to have a session with someone that's really good. If you're feeling funky, we're all going through so much change. There's so in the air. It's important to have your chakras balanced and cleansed at least once or twice a year. I believe you can do it yourself, but it's way more transformational with someone. In fact, I just did a session for this young woman who was having a lot of things going on. She moved so much energy. Her eyes were so white after. Her whites of her eyes were so white that her dad came and picked her up and was like, "Oh my God, she looks different. She looks different." People, when you can let go of energy that's stuck and we carry it for years, your next right moves, having a session with someone to clear your chakras is really helpful, I think. Um, Also, um, grief is real. We
It
miss
is.
our physical family and loved ones. So grief is real, and know that they're always with us. Though it just love never dies; it just changes form.
It does. And
Right?
that's an important thing for people to remember, and that your
Mm-hmm.
loved ones will not leave you necessarily because, like you said, souls can split. You can be in more than one places at one time. That's why there are parallel lives. You can be living an entirely different life than you are here. And if you've got to take care of that, you have to tend to everything.
Right.
So
And if you're going to see a medium, make sure they're a good one, right? And if anyone wants to follow me on Instagram, TikTok, or whatever, please know I will never DM you for money. I have to say that there's a lot of fake accounts of me out there. I will never DM you for money. I will never say, hey, have a reading. If you want to go get a reading, you can only get it through my website.com. So don't get scammed. There's so many people, and I don't mean to throw out the negative, but there are so many people that prey on people's grief. And
they
it's
do.
sickening, and it makes me so heartbroken that that's going on, but it's really going on a lot. So if you want to follow me and check me out, make sure it's spiritsartalking.com only, not an extra L or an I or whatever. And I would love, the followers, and you can go to spiritsartalking.com to find out more about me.
And all your information, your social, your website, everything will be on our blog, so everybody can find out where to find you, what you do, on
Thank
all of
you.
the outlets. My absolute pleasure. Our time is up. I have to do my thank yous. Lisa, this has been a long time coming,
I
but
know.
so grateful that you're here. So thank you
So
so much.
grateful that you're here. Will you like to come on my show sometime?
I would love to come on your show sometime. We'll talk
I'd
about it
love.
on the other side. It would be great. Um, yeah, so thank you for sharing what you're sharing. I know there's
Thank
still
you.
so much to talk about.
I know we need a part two.
We do. We will have a part two. I promise that.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
I want to thank Bridget for all she does. My right hand, my left hand, my tech genius. So grateful for you each and every day. I am grateful for you, the listening audience. I'm grateful for those who have participated in the show today. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking time out of I can't even talk right now, your day, your life, for being a part of this show, because it means a lot. The show is created with you in mind to bring you amazing people like Lisa with amazing information. And I want to continue to be able to do that for you. I've been going 5 years long, and I want to continue doing it for even longer. So know I do this with you in mind. Next week, our guest is Monica Ramirez, a warrior of love. And we're going to talk about connecting to your multidimensionality, believing in yourself, and the life, and to how to live the life of your dreams. Because that's what we're here for, to get through all the crap, to heal from it, so we can live the life we're divinely meant to live. So when you're dealing with a challenge or a hurt or whatever it might be, just know it's coming to you so that you can heal from it, to work through it. Because when you come out the other side, it's shinier, brighter, and more joyful. So thank you for joining us. As I leave you, as always, I send you love, blessings, and gratitude. Know how grateful I am that you're in my life in whatever capacity you're in it. For not only are you my student, you are my teacher. And not only am I a teacher, I am a student, a lifelong student at that. So thank you. I'm also going to leave you with these 3 words. I love you. You are loved, not just by me, not just by family and friends and colleagues, but by the plethora of beings on the other side of the veil who are your biggest cheerleaders. Lisa can attest. They want to help you. They want to be there to guide you, but they don't have free will. You need to ask. So please ask for what you need, want, desire, and then be open to how the information will come to you, because it is not always linear. So pay attention to the signs, like the dragonflies behind Lisa today. That is her friend when she sees the dragonflies. So no, you can find out what yours is. And if you don't, reach out to Lisa, set an appointment, and she'll be able to help you. Okay. I will see you next week. Until then, have the most amazing week. Stay safe. Those of you dealing with the smoke from Canada's wildfires, please take care. Put on your masks if you need to. Don't take in outside air. Recirculate the air in your house if you can. And just take care of you, because self-care is self-love. Okay. Take care. We'll
Thank
see you
you.
next week.
Such an honor.